There were lots of national news press conferences called by the administration, senators, congressmen, and everything else. And it went kind of like this. The Reagan administration speaks. There will be no change. We're standing tall. We won't pull back. We'll never turn and run. We're not wimps. Tommy speaks. President Reagan makes General Custer look like a military genius. Reagan administration speaks. We will absolutely never, irrevocably, uncontrovertibly, I repeat, never pull back from that airport. Tommy speaks. Now even General Custer thinks you're nuts. Reagan administration speaks. We just ordered the Marines out of Lebanon. This is not a retreat. Repeat, this is not a retreat. The battleship New Jersey is just firing rounds to cover their withdrawal, which is not a retreat. Repeat, not a retreat. Just a temporary withdrawal. Definitely not a retreat. Repeat, not a retreat. Tommy speaks. Now we know they're all nuts. An entire nation took up the Mideast argument. National networks and local news outlets exhibited body after body being flown to the Delaware mortuary. Families crying. Ordinary citizens shocked. Loyal veterans of the foreign war types started to lose confidence in the emperor as commander-in-chief, but made excuses for his old age and said he's getting bad advice from the younger guys. I decided more qualified, better equipped, and much smarter folks than I would take it from here. Senator Joe Biden became a cheerleader, became a missionary, took up the cause, first reluctantly, but when he had made up his mind, he went at it with a passion like he does everything else. The political silly season was approaching. Primaries for the nomination of President of the entire U.S. were being organized throughout the country, first in Iowa, then in New Hampshire. I was complaining publicly. The Democrats are all wimps and won't go after Reagan. He has them completely intimidated. He's their big daddy, and they're afraid of him and come begging to his position. He's either a genius or the luckiest politician that ever lived, and he got reelected. During the 1983-84 anti-war effort, this was my best shot. It was springtime in America. Politics was the buzz. No one would run against Reagan. Back in my YR days, Davis Elkins lauded reverently a conservative newspaper in New Hampshire, the Manchester Union Leader. He said it was considered the most conservative voice in America, and it actually made Senator Muskie cry when he was campaigning for president. I called that newspaper in New Hampshire, and I asked for the most conservative reporter. I told them all about my sitting duck campaign, and that I was entering a sitting duck into the New Hampshire primary campaign. Why are you entering a sitting duck and pansies into the New Hampshire primary campaign? Because no one will take on Reagan. So what? If he doesn't have an opponent, there'll be no one to fool with him regarding Lebanon. No one will make him talk about it. So what? Democrats won't fool with Lebanon. They won't challenge him. So what? Reagan should lead, follow, or get the fuck out of the way. I knew the news source couldn't resist that quote. At least something might get in print, and guess what? It did. With a big front page headline, a beautiful picture above the fold of a smiling sitting duck full of pansies over the quote, lead, follow, or get the duck out of the way. I had sent a sitting duck to both the reporter and the Reagan campaign manager, who was dumb enough to respond to the reporter when he called and said, what's the duck for? That was it. The reporter had triggered an official response. My job was done. I have a copy of it someplace in an old binder. I just looked at it recently. It's very amusing now. I was so proud of the New Hampshire paper for doing it. They're one of the few conservative media outlets I ever trusted. I saved a copy of this for my grandchildren. And that's it for tonight. The next chapter is chapter 23, called Time Out. I needed it.